In Europe, it's been a week of protests. 500,000 people are out on the streets in the UK. These are teachers, bus drivers, civil servants, men and women who run the country. They say they're earning a salary that was fixed 10 years ago, but paying for things at 2023 prices. Basically, it's a cost of living crisis. Inflation is at a 4-decade high. In France, the scenes aren't very different. Here, the working class wants to retire early. The government wants to raise the retirement age. How will that help? Our next report takes you to London and Paris and decodes what's being called a workers' uprising in Europe.
What do we want? 10%. When do we want it? Now.
London, Edinburgh, Swansea, Liverpool. It's the same scene across the UK. This is Walkout Wednesday. 500,000 workers, including teachers, university staff, civil servants, border officials, and train and bus drivers, are on strike. They have one battle cry. Enough is enough, they say. They want better pay and better working conditions.
We need you to raise our pay. Rishi Sunak, hear us say.
This is the biggest protest in a decade. The last time something like this happened was in 2011. The impact has been widespread. Schools were shut, rail services were halted, the military had to be put on standby. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has condemned the strikes.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to teachers, we've actually given teachers the highest pay rise in 30 years. It includes a 9% pay rise for newly qualified teachers and record investment in their training and development. I am clear that our children's education is precious and they deserve to be in school today being taught.
Protesters say they're struggling to make ends meet.
The pay that we're receiving just does not align with the work that we're doing, the hours that we put in, and inflation at the moment and this cost of living crisis. And so we're striking because we have to make our point that enough is enough.
We're here to strike against the government's woeful funding of education, not just for teachers but the whole education system as a whole. We're here to show our support for everybody else who is striking as well. And down with the Tory government. It's pathetic.
We're all, as I said at the beginning, we're all striking for similar issues to do with cost of living, to do with unequal pay, to do with better working conditions, better working practices. And we have those cross-cutting themes.
Inflation in the UK stands at 10.5%, the highest in 4 decades. Food and energy costs are skyrocketing. Protesters want better pay. The government says a wage hike will worsen inflation. Economic projections look grim. The International Monetary Fund says the UK will be the only major economy to contract this year. It will do worse than Russia, and this will have a direct impact on Sunak's ratings. It's the same story in France. Over 1 million people took to the streets this week, more than 87,000 in Paris alone. Demonstrations also took place in more than 200 towns and cities. Schools, transport hubs, and oil refineries came to a standstill. There were reports of vandalism too. Some 11,000 civil and police officers were deployed. They used tear gas to control the situation. Why are the people protesting? The government has raised the retirement age from 62 to 64 years. The people of France are against it. They want to retire early. Why does the government want to raise the retirement age? To save cost. Every retired person gets a pension, some $1,500 a month. France has an aging population. There are more retirees than workers, so the current pension system is very expensive. The government wants to pay a pension to fewer people. It's raising the age of retirement. The bill was presented at a cabinet meeting this week. The government aims to pass it by this summer and hopes that the changes can take effect by September. The French Prime Minister has called the move non-negotiable. The Labour Ministry hopes to save up to $20 billion a year, but the people are up in arms. Look at the protest signs. One said, "Retirement before arthritis." Another said, "Leave us time to live before we die." President Emmanuel Macron was re-elected last year. Then he promised to overhaul the pension system and lost a majority in parliament. His popularity has fallen to a record low. According to a poll, only 29% of the voters are happy with Macron's leadership. Macron's challenge is not unique. Retirement age is a political hot potato in Europe. France has the lowest retirement age in the region. In Italy, it is 67 years. In Spain, 65. In Germany and the UK, it's 66 years. With economies under stress and inflation rising, these governments are struggling on multiple fronts. The surging energy prices have had a cascading effect. The result is evident on the streets of London and Paris. It's the working class rising in protest.